Okay. We'll get started because I've been waiting for a while. So that's the problem with showing up early on the first day. You're just kind of like, okay, just kind of wait around here. Close the door, make it awkward for anyone who shows up a little bit late on the first day. And how's the screen looking? It's actually not that bad. Usually I have to set the mood a little bit. Turn the lights up. That's it. I think we're okay. Might do it. It's way cozier if we turn the lights out, but I'll leave them on for a little bit, and then if you have trouble seeing them, just let me know and we'll turn them out. Oh, I'm Emily. Nice to meet you. Yeah, so I think you know your teacher's name, yeah? I don't know any of your names, although I have been looking at the class list, so I have a ballpark idea of the names, just need some faces on them, then we'll be good to go. So this is Stat 121. Usually I end up sitting down towards, well, second day of classes, I'll sit down. I like to stand up though, so I can really mean mug y'all. Okay, so it's my first time writing after the break, so just be gentle, okay? Oh, this is what happened yesterday. I knew it. Maybe I psyched myself out. Maybe I was like, oh, I should have practiced writing on the iPad. I went to write like an actual writing note, and it was a disaster. I was like, I've forgotten how to write. And standing like this doesn't help. It's actually not that bad. I mean, it's bad, but not that bad by my standards. So you guys will learn that. So I'm Emily. It's just Emily spelled funny. And then I used to be Gustafson, not Lee. Pretty cruel parents if they named me Emily Lee. It's a lot of E's in there. But that's love, right? So anyways, Emily Lee now. No relation to Paul Lee, if you know Paul Lee in the department. No, we're just really good friends. Weird, I know. But yeah, so stats, huh? Oh, I forgot. Usually I do like a welcome to calculus, kind of psych you guys out. I forgot. Oh, one good joke out the window. Oh, well. So here for stats. Who knows what stats is? I don't know. Like probably a lot about baseball and hockey, stats. Well, those are statistics, but not really what we'll be doing. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, because I know nothing about it, but I do know a lot about statistics. Okay. Oh, I always forget to give my email out. It's just the usual kind of setup, elee@okanagan.bc.ca. One thing that I do want to say kind of early on here is that I am recording the lecture, so this, whatever you see here is being recorded, and my voice is being recorded as well. And then I post those on YouTube. And also, if you're ever not able to make it to class, then you can always join in, and I've posted the Zoom room. I host these, my lectures through Zoom, and so, which is just like a Skype or GoToMeeting or whatever you're used to. Zoom's pretty big, so that's why I chose that one. But yeah, so there's a Zoom room where you can just go in, and I'm just sharing my screen. Okay. So whatever you see on here, and my voice would just be going through the Zoom room as well. I think I'm the only one in there right now, so that's okay, first day. But 8 a.m. can get tricky to get to, right? But you can always just log in and join in through Zoom, or later on, what I do is I post these videos on YouTube. I've got the link posted for that on Moodle as well. So they do take a while to kind of buffer and post on YouTube, but usually by the end of the day, they're up. So, oh, and a fun thing I learned at the very end of term, which kind of bummed me out, apparently YouTube puts subtitles on, so that's pretty handy, right? I don't know. If you're kind of having a hard time hearing what I'm saying, then I guess it does I haven't checked it out, but I guess it does a pretty good job of figuring out what I'm saying. So that's helpful. Okay, so my email, my office, I'm in C104. So the C building, I'm all disoriented over there. Past the construction, that's where I am. It's a big share. It's actually not that big, but it's shared by many. And so for some reason, the others like to keep the door closed. And so, and I do for heat reasons, okay? I would, but they've kind of covered the window, and I'm blaming everyone else. I'm kind of a newbie, so I didn't do it. I would have the windows open so you can actually see if anyone's in there, because to make things difficult, the lights are always on, even if there's nobody home. Okay, so I'm in C104. I'm usually around. If you have a question, just stop by. You don't have to make an appointment or anything. Unless I'm not there, then make an appointment and I'll be there, okay? But I'm there most of the time, okay? C104, that's me. Office hours, I think will be on Tuesdays, okay? I have to figure out what works, okay? Of course, if Tuesdays don't work, then just we can figure something else out, because I kind of teach all day Monday, Wednesdays. Figured I'd squeeze them into Tuesdays. Which brings me to my next point. Hopefully, you guys would be okay with moving the labs from Friday morning to Tuesday afternoon. Don't worry, it works for you guys. Yeah. What if I tell you the reason first? So my husband lives in Ottawa, and I only teach Mondays and Wednesdays. That's my only class days. And then I've got this pesky lab on Friday mornings, which I would have to stick around for. I would just like to move them to Tuesdays. And I've got 2 times that work schedule-wise, okay? So I'll just jump right to it. So propose we move labs to Tuesdays. So LO1 is the 8 a.m. one. LO1, which is the 8:50 or 8 to 8:50 originally, to Tuesday at 1. Is that the one? Yeah.
From 8 to 4:20. Non-stop. Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah. Our only break is between 9:20 and 10.
Because I checked all the schedules and the times work.
We have class at what? From 12 to 12:50, and then 1:30 to 4:20.
To 4:20. Okay.
And then
that's not
that,
showing up.
10 to 10:50, and then 8 to 9:20. So we have a 40-minute break between 9:20 and 10, and a 40-minute break between 12:50 and 1:30.
Okay. Okay, so then that's for the wet people. Anyone else? Let me put the times up. Can check them. I did just go through all your schedules yesterday to make sure that it worked. So schedule-wise, it should work. But so the LO1 is moving to Tuesday, 1 to 1:50, and LO2, which was from 9 to 9:50, to Tuesday, 3:30 to 4:20. So something's going on there. It's your guys' schedules. But yeah.
She also might be able to bump to get a 1:30 lab. So she might
Okay.
move it at 20 minutes.
Right. I'll figure you guys out. Yeah, because something's going on there. I did check the schedules. But anyways, that's what I'm hoping we can do. Okay. If there's any sort of like non-scheduled besides what people, then please come talk to me. Let me know if it doesn't work, because I haven't actually asked for these changes. I wanted to kind of feel you guys out first. Good thing we did. Okay, so just come talk to me. No big deal. Well, I'd be a little bit bummed, but in the grand scheme of things, oh well. Okay, so that's what I'm proposing. Find something that works. Okay, but I would like to kind of move them to Tuesday instead. Okay. So, good. All right. So, next thing I wanted to show you was our Moodle page. It's pretty empty right now. Okay. So far, we've just got the textbook. We're just using a free textbook. And really, I'm not going to open it because it's pretty big. So, but it's just a PDF, so you can download it or do whatever you want. I don't use the textbook. I use the sections in the textbook to kind of guide where I'm going. Okay. But as far as the material that I expect you to know, it's going to be the notes that I post. Okay, so the notes that we go through together, those are all fair game. Okay, the textbook kind of goes off in different directions and kind of is a little crazy. But it's free, so that's why I use it. Okay? Because I was finding that I wasn't actually using whatever textbook I was making people buy anyways, so I felt really guilty about that. So anyways, I posted the Zoom meeting room, so that's always there. If you do log in, I get a little notification, blah, blah, blah is waiting for you in the meeting room. Unless we've set up a time to meet in there, I'm going to assume you clicked it by accident. Okay, so if you are waiting for me, then just let me know and we can meet in there. Okay. So even if you have a question, kind of a longer question, then if you want to meet on Zoom, then that's fine. We can do that. Okay. And then, of course, the lecture videos just takes you to YouTube, my channel. Feeling pretty cool. Okay, so I'll post all my lectures. This is from last term. I post all of them and they just kind of come in order. So you might have to search. I think it does like most popular ones first or something like that. I don't know. But you might have to search through, but I do post all the videos there. Okay. So, any questions so far? Crickets. Okay, got it. Oh yeah, so I'll post your assignments, I'll post practice problems, and I'll post tests. It's actually easier if I just show you what to expect from the one from last term. Okay, so I'll pick a decent, so I'll post all the notes, blah, blah, blah. A little sneak preview, don't look. Okay. But all the notes are available. And then the labs I'll keep in a different labs Moodle page this term, because I'm teaching a couple of other stats labs as well. So I'll just lump all those together. Okay. But assignments, I give you an assignment, you hand it in on time. I post the solutions, we're all happy. Okay. And then you can go through the solutions. There's also practice problems. Those are just for fun, for for you, not fun for me. I've done them. Okay. And then for each test, I post a practice test. And then what I do is I give you the practice test beforehand, and then in the review session before the test, if you show me your practice test that you've done it or attempted it, it doesn't have to be right, just completion marks, okay? Then I'll give you 1 completion mark and it counts as an assignment, okay? So the practice test, those review days, you'll want to show up so you can show me your practice test that you did it, you tried it, okay? Doesn't have to be right, just that you tried it. And then we go through the practice test together in the review class, and then you have your test. Okay? So I do try to prepare you as much as I possibly can. Okay? And then same thing for test 1, test 2, and then of course you get a practice final as well. Okay? So that's just what it will look like once it starts populating. Okay? So back to here. So we are using a free textbook. Posted on Moodle. I wonder if I can. Risky. We'll see. Okay. And you can use any calculator. You may use any calculator, or I should say non-programmable. Any non-programmable calculator. Often people don't have the programmable ones, so not really an issue. Okay. It's not to say I don't love my TI-83. I do, but just because we have to have the same rules for everyone, has to be non-programmable. Okay. Any kind of scientific calculator works. Okay. Okay. Calculator. Talked about Zoom. We talked about YouTube. All the fun videos. Another thing that I want to try this term is some sort of, it's going to sound kind of silly, but a messaging service without being Messenger, just because it doesn't look good for me to use Messenger to message you guys, even though it would be the most obvious option. And so I'm curious, who uses WhatsApp? Some of us. I don't, but I'm old, so whatever. I don't have to do anything. Who uses Line? You heard of Line? Oh, double user over there. Nice. Are there any others out there? Kind of group message. You get the idea, right? Messaging, where I can just make a Stat 121 group, message everyone. Someone has a question, they post it to the group, or they want to contact someone in class, they can do that through the group, whatever. Anyways, that's something that I want to try because I do find that email gets a little clunky. For some reason, it's just kind of feels like more work to ask a question by email. I don't know. We like to just be able to, and I like for you to be able to just take a picture and send me a picture of what you're doing. And I can just text you back. In the past, of course, I have given out my cell number, but I want to have you all in one place. Okay. So until we land on a messaging service. Text my cell 250-864-8386, which is also the Zoom meeting ID. Okay. Also our Zoom meeting ID. So default, you can just text me, but I do want to try to figure out kind of a cohesive messaging system. Okay. Looks like no one uses anything. Gone are the days of Blackberries, where we all had Blackberries. Wasn't an issue. But anyways, so don't worry, I stuck with BlackBerry till the bitter end. But now I have an iPhone. Okay, so that's my cell phone. Text me whenever you want. I usually just reply as soon as I can. Any questions? No? How about your grades? So the grade breakdown. So your assignments are going to be 10%. Okay. There are going to be 7 assignments. And 2 practice tests. Right? Practice tests that are just completion marks, so automatic 100% on an assignment, right? So you want to do those. Plus 2 practice tests. Making each assignment 1.1 repeating percent ish. 1.11. Okay. So they're not really a big deal. I have made the assignments to help you prepare for the tests, of course. So probably good to do those, get some feedback, right? Kind of low pressure feedback. In saying that though, it's actually hard for me to mark hard, okay? Probably a relief for you guys. But I do try to mark the assignments hard just to kind of rid you of any bad habits, okay? And then you'll be primed for the test or even the practice test. Okay? The labs are also 10%. Okay? You don't have to pass the lab to pass the course. It's just 10% of your grade. As far as I see it, it's kind of your 10% to lose, right? We'll talk about the lab in the lab, right? But yeah. Oh, I should say, I'll make a note once I'm done this list, but there are no labs this week, right? We haven't covered any material, makes it really difficult to start a lab. Okay? So, we're gonna have 2 tests worth 40%. I'm being vague on the weight of each. You can just assume it's 20/20, right? But if one doesn't go so well, then I keep my options open, right? Then I can kind of shift the weight to test 2 or to test 1, right? And just kind of make it better for you, okay? So that's why I'm being vague about the 2 tests. Just assume 2020, okay? But as a class, if you do really poorly on test 1, then I'll shift some of the weight to test 2, right? Okay. And then of course the final exam is 40%. So pretty standard, at least in our department. I don't know about other classes, but 40% final. You do have to get at least 40% on the final to pass the course, assuming that that gets you a pass overall. A little complicated. I'll post the course outlines on Moodle. I'm not going to print them off because it feels like a waste of paper. No one really reads them. I will give you a term schedule though with everything that we're doing each day. Okay? We're still kind of firming up some decisions on what we're covering across all campuses. So that's why I don't have anything today, but I will on Wednesday. You'll be rich with paper. Okay? So, so assignments, labs, tests, final exam. Seems easy enough. Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention. Oh yeah, so no labs this week. So during the term, you'll be welcome to either come to your scheduled lab section or the other lab section if that works better for you, just kind of time-wise, right? So I'm not expecting you to show up to your lab section necessarily. At the end of the day, if you're doing the work, then I don't care how you do it, okay? I've also got 2 other Stat 124 lab sections. They're doing the exact same lab material. Okay, so you'll be welcome to come to those as well, or instead, it doesn't matter. So during the term, you're welcome to come to my Stat 124 labs. They're the same. Okay. And they're on Mondays and Wednesdays. I think 4 to 4:50. Yeah. Okay. So kind of unofficial labs, right? If you have more questions and you need more time, then of course, if you're going to one that you're not scheduled in, and there's a lot of questions, kind of have to bump you, but usually things start to slow down in the labs and then kind of pregame. Okay. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what rooms they're in, but if you're interested, then you can just let me know. I'll tell you. Okay. Any other questions? No? Yeah.
Do we have to go to the lab this Friday?
No. No labs this week. Yeah. So labs will start next week. Yeah, there's no labs in the first or the last week of school. Okay.
Are the labs something we can do on our own laptops?
Yes.
Do we need to show up to the lab if we can do it on our own laptop?
No. So let's just talk briefly about the labs because good question.
It's not gonna work for us.
Yeah. So for the labs, we are using R. I don't know. Has anyone heard of R? No, I don't expect you to, don't worry. So R is quickly becoming industry standard. It is open source, so you can download it on your laptop, and you can just kind of have it running on your own machine, which is nice. Then you're not relying on the school computers. And it's nice that it's free. It's nice that it's popular in industry, or becoming more popular. We're kind of cutting edge here. So a little bit of background. I've done most of my teaching at UBCO. And so there I've been teaching R labs for a long time, where I kind of spearheaded teaching R in the intro level courses. And because I said, well, using SPSS is insane. It costs a lot of money. They're not going to buy it. And then it assumes that the company that they're working for has SPSS, which is another program. But so I said, no, we're just going to use R. It's free. It's great. Okay. So they said, yeah, go do whatever you want. Great. And then I came here, and still using SPSS. So I said, so we have been using SPSS. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to make labs for the college. Okay, so I ran my labs last term. Okay, they were kind of my guinea pigs for the college format. At UBCO, I have TAs, and I just tell them what to do, and they just go do it. Okay. So me running it myself was, I felt bad for my old TAs, but whatever. No, it wasn't that bad. But so I made a few tweaks for this term, but we are learning R. Okay. R is a programming language. Before you freak out, okay. Once it kind of clicks, it will be really fun. Okay. So there is a steep learning curve to R, and I'm not expecting you to know any programming. Okay. And I'd say for the first half of the term, I'm not expecting the labs to make sense. I'm not expecting you to know what you're doing. Okay. I am expecting you to ask questions, figure it out, don't give up. Attitude is 80%. I was hoping we were in the room with the attitude is 80% of math or whatever. So it's always 80% attitude. Okay. Just kind of keep working at it. Okay. Stick with it, and it will start to fall into place. And then at the end of the term, you'll look back and kind of be amazed with what you did. Okay. So so the labs do start very slowly, and I kind of walk you through it. It will feel fast to you, right? Because it's your first time, right? But we do kind of work through things very, very slowly. And I have posted videos on YouTube for each of the labs. Okay. So the instructions are there, and there's written instructions. Okay. And so you just follow through those, try it, figure it out, doesn't work, right? Try it again, that kind of thing. So how I would like to see the labs being used is more for questions, right? If you have questions for me, right? I tried this, it didn't work, what's going on, right? That kind of thing. Okay, so there are videos on that subject. I do want to make shorter videos, but as you can probably tell, I'm kind of a chatty Cathy, and so I tend to talk around a lot of stuff. So I really kind of need to narrow it down, because no one wants to watch an hour video of me talking about R. Okay. So there are videos. I am kind of going to update them as we go. Okay. Try to make them shorter. It's not my strong suit. Okay. But they're there. The instructions are there. You can download R on your own laptop. So yeah, you can definitely do it at home. Like I said, if you're doing the labs and you're getting stuff to me, what more can I ask for? Right. And so I'm not taking attendance or anything in general. In fact, let me tell you this. I don't care if you show up to class, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. What I care about is if you're learning, Okay, so it's been my experience that showing up to class helps you learn. That's why people are obsessed with you coming to class. But I understand that life is happening, other tests are going on, things are going on. It's 8 a.m., right? So as long as you are staying on top of the material, right? I post videos, I post my notes, there's the online meeting room. You kind of have no excuses, in my opinion, right, to not stay on top of this stuff. Okay? At the very least, if you miss a class, I need you to read through these notes, right? Often any sort of kind of big announcements that I'll make, I'll put kind of around the top, right? And it's surprising the number of times that I get questions being like, oh, I didn't show up to class, and what about this? It's like, did you even read the notes? No. So I do want you to skim the notes if you miss the class before you contact me. Okay? It's kind of a courtesy thing. Otherwise, I have to be like, oh, well, I don't know, did you see the notes? And then if it's not clear, then let me know. Okay? All right. So as far as attendance goes, either in class or in the lab, no, I don't. Well, I hate to say I don't care, but it doesn't faze me either way, right? What matters to me is that you do well in this course. The only way to do well is really just kind of working at the material. Right? You know how you best learn. Okay? So, any questions?
How do you spell R? Is it just a letter R?
It's just capital R. So in the labs, I'll make a note here. In the labs, we will use R, which is the programming language. And R Studio, which someone pointed out to me last term. They're like, oh, like our studio? And I was mind blown. I guess, but no, just our studio. But I guess it's our studio. So what you'll need to do if you are downloading it on your own laptop or your desktop at home or whatever, is first you download R, and then you download R Studio. So we're going to be working in R Studio, but the language that we're using is R. Okay. It's about as deep as we'll go into the labs for now. And I'll post instructions, right, for how to do that. Okay. But yeah, just capital R, R Studio. Yeah, pretty hip and happening. Okay. Yeah.
In general, is there a big difference between like stats 121?
No, not at all. In fact, we've decided to align Stat 121 with 124 for transfer. So we have the same kind of grade breakdown, which is a thing for accreditation. And we'll be covering all the same material. Right. I'm teaching Stat 124 as well this term. And so, yeah, I'll be using the same notes, just throwing in maybe different examples, but I mean, examples are examples. So yeah, they're the same. Same labs, same material, same, but different. Okay. So if you are in business, then you don't need to worry about it. We're all doing the same thing. Okay. And if you're not in business, don't be disappointed. They would be the same anyways. So, okay. Out of curiosity, who is in business in here? 1, 2, 3. I saw the relief on the faces, so oh, phew, it's all the same. We've got web program, kind of picked you guys out already. You can just tell when people know each other. They're usually in the wet program. What other programs do we have in here? Who's in arts? Was that too general? Should I be more specific with arts? I don't know. Sciences? Oh, okay, cool, cool. Seen some non-hands over here. No. I actually can't think of any other. Nursing. No nurses in here. Oh, nice. Okay. Human service work. Great. No? Okay. All right. You're in unknown programs. That's okay. I don't usually call on people to speak in public. It used to terrify me. I always sat up at the front, which now hindsight, I'm like, why would I do that if I didn't want to answer questions or anything? I think because I didn't see very well. But anyways, I always sat up at the front, but then as soon as anyone was trying to make the class answer a question, I was really busy finishing my notes, head down. Oh yeah, it's like you have to put off this air of I know the answer, but I'm really busy right now. Anyways, so don't worry, I'm not going to call on you to answer questions. I often throw out hypotheticals or throw out a question that I'll answer myself. How do you do this? Oh yeah, funny you should ask. But as far as public speaking, don't worry, not happening. Okay. So, any other questions before we just kind of stick our toe in and then we'll leave? How about that? No questions? Okay. So, what is statistics? A question that I do not expect you to answer. I'll answer it. Okay. Statistics, in its broadest sense, right, is when you want to know something about a population, right? So you have to identify your population, right? Whether that be Okanagan College students or people who live in Kelowna or whatever, right? Depends on what you're interested in. So when you want to know something about the population, right, but you can't interview or ask questions of everyone in that population, right? So statistics is the process where we take a sample, right? So we take a sample of this population, okay? And then we do calculations on the sample to try to figure out what's going on in the population, right? As a kind of simple example, right? We want to know what the average height of males is at the college, right? Our population being males, let's say students at the college. Okay? And so we would take a random sample of male students at the college, right? And then we would calculate their average height. And then that's a pretty good guess at what the population average might be, right? Give or take a little bit. Okay? So that is what statistics is all about. Okay? When do we use it? Whenever we want to prove something, right? My product is better than this product. My sales are higher than this person's sales, right? Whenever we want to prove something, like a statement like that, right? We have to use statistics. And that's why it's a mandatory course for a lot of you, okay? Kind of unknown until you have to take this course, and then it's like, oh, everything is statistics actually, so weird, okay? But statistics in its broadest sense is when we use data right, from a sample to learn something about a population. To learn something about a population. Okay. So that concept is going to be really important, right? We want to know something about the population, right? We can't possibly sample the whole population, right? And there's no need to because we have statistics, so we don't need to, right? But we do take a sample, right, that represents the population, okay? And we do calculations on this more manageable sample. Okay? We could sample all males at the college, right? It would still be kind of expensive and hard to do. But think about something that would be really, really difficult to sample, or I hate to say impossible. It's always a possibility, but think about ants, for example, right? You want to know what the mean length of an ant is. Technically, that would require you to measure every single ant on this earth, write it down, calculate the average. That's impossible. I say impossible. There's always a probability, but essentially impossible, right? We can take a sample of ants, calculate their mean length, right? Their average length. I've already done it. I've gone and done it. Mean is the average. Okay? I use those two interchangeably. There, you have some terminology already. Okay? Right? So we can take a sample of ants, calculate their average length, and then use that to say, well, I'm pretty confident that the average length is in this ballpark. Okay? So that's statistics. Okay? I'll draw this kind of, here you've got your population, here you've got your sample. It is important that your sample actually comes from your population, right? For example, if you're interested in the average height of males at the college, then you can't just take a random sample of students at the college, because that's not what you're interested in, right? So it is important that our sample comes from the population that we're interested in. Okay? What's funny is that when I took, well, a similar course way back, my prof would always draw this on the board. He's like, no, there's population in a sample. I was like, yeah, what's so hard about it? But now I do it too, and here we are. Here's, what's so hard about it? It'll click. Right now, it's just population sample. Yeah, simple enough, right? But what we're moving towards is we use information from here to ultimately say something about the population. Okay. How are we doing? Yeah. So I'm actually not usually one to use up the first day, but there's been some new material added this term, so I'm worried that we won't have time to cover it all, so I am going to have to use most of today. Anyways, I apologize. So starting in section 1.2, okay, and again, I'm just referring to the textbook, using their sections as, well, my own, I guess. But as far as keeping up with the material, what I write here in the notes is what I expect you to know. Okay. So, section 1.2. As you've probably noticed, right? We need some way to distinguish between information from a sample and information from a population, right? So we'll start there. Because if we want to know about the average height of males at the college, right, that's our population. We take a sample of males and calculate their average height, right? So now we have the sample average height and the population average height, but they're both average heights, right? So that's kind of one of the big hurdles in this course is all the terminology in the beginning that we need to kind of get a handle on, okay? Because we'll always have sample information and population information, okay? Say that 3 times fast. Sample information, population information. Okay? So we need to be able to distinguish between information from a population oops. Population being everybody or everything of interest. Everything of interest. And information from a sample. Which is a carefully selected subset of the population. Subset, just, I don't know, be self-explanatory. A subset, a smaller section. So, for terminology, right, anything that we've measured in the population, right, or anything that we're interested in from the population, we call a parameter. Okay? So, anything from a population, we call a parameter. A parameter is a calculation or number derived from the entire population. So then, for sample information, any information that describes or came from a sample is a statistic. Okay. So one thing to notice is that a population, right, if it's from a population, it's a parameter. Okay. If it's from a sample, it's a statistic. Okay. So that describes, so we'll be just dealing with all kinds of statistics, not surprisingly, right? We can calculate all kinds of things. We can calculate the average, we can calculate the standard deviation, the variance, the median, the mode, the quartiles, all these fun things that we can calculate. They're all, if they're from the sample, they're all statistics. Okay. So same idea, but it's a calculation or number. Oops. Doesn't really say number, does it? There. Or number derived from a sample. Okay. So now, right, our whole goal, talking again in terms of, okay, so we take information from a sample to learn about the population, right? Now in different terms, same idea though, right? We take a statistic to learn something about the corresponding parameter, right? We take the sample average to learn about the population average. Take the sample standard deviation to learn about the population standard deviation, right? So on and so forth. Okay. So we use statistics, or I'll say we use a statistic to learn about its corresponding parameter. So two definitely terms that I expect you to know the difference between, right? One thing that I have been throwing out, kind of using casually, is the mean. So I'll just make a note here that the mean is just the average used interchangeably. I'd say that the mean is the most common parameter of interest, right? We want to know about the average number of sales, the average amount of sales, the average number of people in Kelowna, blah, 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 right? And so we're always kind of interested in the average, right? There are other parameters that we will talk about, but we'll start with the mean because it's kind of the easiest to kind of wrap our head around. Okay. So, let's do some examples. So we have a sample and a population. Some things that we could collect, right, or calculate. First one, I'd say is the mean. Right. Another common one that we might be interested in is maybe the standard deviation, which even if you're not sure what it is, I'm sure you've kind of heard it just in conversation. Maybe not. Maybe that's just me. Oh yeah, standard deviation this, standard deviation that. You might have even heard of variance. The list goes on, but just to give you an idea of how we denote these, because we need different notation, right, for a sample mean versus a population mean. Sample standard deviation, population standard deviation, right? And so a sample mean is going to be denoted by X bar. Okay. So it's just an X with a bar over it. My bar doesn't. There. So it's just an X with a bar over it. X bar is a sample mean. Okay. technically it's a mean of X, but because we're using normal letters, it's from the sample. Okay? Whereas the population mean is denoted by a Greek letter mu. Okay? So mu starts down low and then it just looks like a fancy M. Okay? And if you want to just write it, you can write mu, but writing mu is actually kind of fun, so go for it. Okay? We will use a lot of Greek letters, so get used to it. Okay? Reason being, anything from the population will be denoted by Greek letters. And so just as a rule, everything from the population, it has Greek letters. So parameters, look at us go, applying our terminology, parameters are measurements from the population, right? So parameters will always be denoted by Greek letters. Let's fill in our table here. So our sample standard deviation, we denote by a lowercase s. Can't really tell the difference without any context, but it's just a lowercase s. Okay? And for the population standard deviation, we use sigma. So sigma is a lowercase sigma. Okay? A lowercase sigma is just an O at the tail on top. Right? They're just our letters, but with a flare. Mu, sigma. Okay? And then the variance is s squared. So the variance and the standard deviation are related, right? The standard deviation is just the square root of the variance. I'm going to stick to just using the standard deviation, right? But if you go into other courses and they talk about the variance, then don't worry. The variance is just the square of the standard deviation. Everything stays the same. Okay? So everything stays the same. It's just we'll use the standard deviation instead of the variance. And then the population variance is, of course, just sigma squared. Okay. So anything with a bar over it like X bar, okay, is a sample mean. Okay. Sample mean or sample average. For example, right, X bar is the average of X. Not really an X. You can even do things like height bar is the average height. Right, of the sample, of course. Right, the bar is only from samples. So you can just read it as the average height, or X bar is the average X. Right? Your average smiley face. Any questions about that so far? No? So I think you'll find that at the beginning of the term, right, we're gonna be kind of making our way through a lot of terminology, and that's because we need to be able to just talk about data, right? Before we analyze things, we need to be able to talk about the things we're talking about. Weird, right? But you need to know the names of the tools that we're using, just like anything else, right? So it is going to be a lot of terminology in the beginning, and then we'll kind of get to the applications later on. Okay. Any questions? No? We'll end there. How about? Sound good? See you guys on Wednesday.